Christy May's restaurant is locally owned and operated with a family-friendly atmosphere. Their array of homemade comfort food is just like your mom's. From homemade chicken pot pie to their famous chicken salad on a croissant, Christy May's even offers lunch catering. Christy May's restaurant is located at 1400 San Pedro Drive, Northeast. They offer drive-in, carry-out, and catering. Open Monday through Saturday, 10:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. Don't forget, every Proview Network sporting event is on sale at our DVD store. Go to www.proviewNetworks.com to buy your DVD today.
All right, welcome to this edition of the New Mexico Motorsports Report here on the Proview Networks. I'm your host, Dominic Aragon, Editor-in-Chief for TheRacingExperts.com.
I'm David Swope. I'm a host for the New Mexico Motorsports Report on ESPN Radio, 1017 The Team.
And I'm Brooklyn Green, sideline reporter for the New Mexico Motorsports Report.
A lot of racing action this weekend. Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, but the IndyCar Series crowned a champion this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. IndyCar crowned a championship this weekend at Sonoma Raceway. It was a rather uneventful race, actually. The most interesting part was towards the end of the race when Simon Pagenaud actually took the lead, and he looked like a man possessed. There was an opportunity for Joseph Newgarden on his quick laps to actually use some power to pass, and he didn't. He left it in the bank. I'm not sure what that was really about, why they were waiting, but Pagenaud actually moved from fourth to second in the points, just 13 points off the lead. With a double points race, basically anything can happen. But it was a like I said, somewhat uneventful race. There really wasn't any yellows to speak of, and of course he was able to run. Newgarden is only the second American in the last 11 years to win an IndyCar title. The last one was 2012 with Ryan Hunter-Reay. Great to see Newgarden. He's from Tennessee. Of course, Cindric was coaching him all along because he was afraid that he was going to actually go for the win and take both him and Pagenaud out, which would have got Dixon then. Helio Castroneves didn't have a good enough run to actually make a shot at it, but just 26 years old in his sixth IndyCar season, and giving Penske another win. That was Roger Penske's 15th championship in IndyCar and 30th in all the various forms, so it was amazing. And of course, this season was such a miracle season for him because he was able to have the 4 victories and of course go on to get the championship, but career high in wins, podiums, laps led, and of course in the final standings. So kind of an uneventful race. In a contrast to that, Formula One, and we actually have some video of the start of the Formula One race, and we'll roll that really quickly, give you a little play-by-play on it. Basically, what happens here is there's about 6 mistakes that happen before they even get to turn 1. Of course, you can see Kimi Räikkönen was trying to make a move on the outside, contacted Vettel, and then of course also Verstappen, so they were both out right immediately in the race. 2 things. They should have started that race under a safety car. They had rain going on. Of course, for the video right now, you can see Verstappen, and he just gets pinched. One of the things that you watch that start for Vettel is like creeping to the left, basically trying to pinch him into the wall. Well, there was nowhere he could go with Kimi Räikkönen on the outside. But as long as I've been racing, you know, my dad has always told me every time you go to a driver's meeting at the start of the race, what do they tell you? The race is not won in turn 1, but could be lost in turn 1. This may end up actually costing Vettel a championship. He went from being 3 points to now he's 28 points back. And as you know, in IndyCar, that's a long way to go. And you know, so that right there was a perfect graphic of all the things that you should not do. Then it goes on, and Hamilton goes to the front and leads, and is basically fairly uneventful after that. Bottas has a great run. There was a chance there where they actually thought that Palmer might get his first podium, and then that fell apart. So I think at the end, like half of the cars didn't even finish the race.
But the beginning looked like a NASCAR demolition derby or something.
Yeah, I don't think, I think that that's one of the things that people don't like about Formula One, okay? It's like once they get stretched out, then there's not a whole lot of passing. It's all strategy, it's all pit strategy. They got like 16 different types of tires, you got requirements. They don't even put fuel in the car, so the pit stop's like 2.3 seconds. And so, I mean, any little bitty, mistake, causes something. But I think that that's a good example of they tear up cars, but before turn one, and all the Ferraris are out, so about half of the people that are there watching it now have no more interest. But they also say very similar things about IndyCar, that the most exciting Indy cars are on the oval, and I think that road racing is definitely a driver experience more than it probably is a fan experience. But I wanted to show that because there's a perfect example of all the things that you shouldn't do. But NASCAR on the flip side, there was a lot of exciting stories. Maybe talk a little bit about Chicagoland.
Sure, the beginning of the playoffs happened this weekend at Chicagoland Speedway. Martin Truex Jr., no surprise, was the class of the field. He didn't start on the pole and even had speeding penalty on pit road, but Truex Jr. shined when it counted the most. Truex led the final 55 laps in the tails of the Turtle 400 at Chicagoland Speedway Sunday in the opening race of the playoffs. The win guarantees Truex a spot in the next round when that kicks off in a few weeks at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We'll grab more on the point situation later, but Dave, looks like Truex was able to rebound from all of his troubles at Richmond last week and from Darlington 2 weeks prior.
Well, and you saw him in Winner's Circle with such a relief. He had so much pressure, going into that race. It seemed like a lot of the odds were against him. They did everything right. I mean, they didn't do everything right, actually. They had a pit speeding violation, sent him to the back, and they fought their way back. But with Cole Pern and the whole team, they did a great job. There were a lot of great storylines in this. Kyle Busch. Now, here's another example of you're supposed to dance with the one that brung you, right? So they changed the pit crew. He gets Suarez's pit crew, and they have nothing but problems, and he had to battle his way back. But that added a lot of element to it.
And Suarez even finished ahead of Busch on Sunday. So what does that tell you?
Yeah, exactly. But that's one of those things that is like, yes, they may be a faster pit crew, but you've been pitting for the 10th to 15th place car all season versus pitting a car that's in 1st to 5th. The level of pressure is so much higher that I think that they underestimated that. They outsmarted themselves. This is a Kevin Harvick move, actually,
yeah,
where they totally outsmart themselves and it ends up biting them pretty significantly. Chase Elliott appeared to have a great run. Of course, this afternoon the penalties came down because they found a video of some tape on the front part of the car, and so there's all this talk about it could have been an increase by 10 horsepower. Now, I haven't gone back and done all the research yet, but they actually claim that this video wound up on YouTube is how they found out about it, as somebody pointed it out, but they were already talking about it in the pits. But I wonder how Napa's going to feel about that.
There's a screenshot of that. There's like a black piece of tape, maybe a few inches wide, or at least it appears to be tape. And looks like it's kind of coming off as he's cornering the car. So 10 horsepower, maybe that's the difference. That's why Chase Elliott ran better on Sunday than he had in prior races. He looked a lot faster than he has.
Yeah.
Well, so what you thought about that? I mean, Brooklyn. I mean, there's been so many penalties this year, so many different things handed down. Trying to keep these guys honest. I mean, do you think they really found something with a piece of tape?
I don't think so. I mean, I think there's rules for a reason, but I mean, every race car driver is going to push those rules to the limit just to see how good they can be and how good they can finish. I mean, I think they're there for a reason, but I don't think a piece of tape can really do that much of a difference. But hey, I mean, like you said, I haven't done all the research on it. I saw it come on my NASCAR app as a notification, so after this I'll have to go read on it and then really form my opinion.
Yeah, it's amazing to me, but I mean, they were pulling out the skirts, the last couple of years.
Flaring those
NASCAR
out,
came down on that. They were flaring those out. You've had a lot of the annals will talk about kind of like the hip check, before the rear tire to try and give it some more aerodynamic push. Of course, the difference, in putting too much tape on the radiator and then overheating the car. So that's that balance between. So it's phenomenal to me. That would be just if somebody came up with that. That's whatever it takes to win. But it did.
They're going to have to put more little subsections in the rule book because you can add to the grill and have some grill tape, but spoiler, right? What?
Well, and the reason that they do that is because you're taking a risk on overheating the motor.
Exactly.
And so there is a place where it's like, well, you could push it too far, and then it's going to end up balancing on you. But I hear so many people complain about the fact that NASCAR has gotten to where the cars are so built and everything is so safe that they're going out there and it's gotten away from stuff like that. To where it's like, somebody would try and, flare something different or, do something different with a hood configuration or anything like that. And we've gotten away from, that level of creativity. Of course, it was a tremendous argument about where do you draw the line? Is it, let's say there's only so many cubic inches, there's only so much horsepower. We're going to spec the tires, we're going to spec the fuel. How far is this going to go? As a matter of fact, now we got the end of the Xfinity race, which was absolutely exciting. And you've got who's number 7 again?
There you go, Justin Allgaier.
Justin Allgaier right there. And look at that. Just basically throwing Blaney in the wall. That was really tough. But that was great to see. At the final race, actually have an Xfinity regular, and then of course leaving with the points lead, the number 1 of Elliott. So. I think that was a pretty good race, but it came down to a restart. It was pretty exciting.
Well, the Xfinity Series just looked exciting because you had a lot of these regular guys go out. We had the JR Motorsports guys go out and dominate and run in the top 5. We saw that with Justin Allgaier. And this is Justin Allgaier's first multi-win season in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. So that team is setting themselves up really well as we go into the playoffs for them. They begin next week. So got a lot of great racing coming up.
Yeah. Well, we're going to see if William Byron can rebound in the series as well. Of course, he was having a great run, 3 victories, very consistent, with 8 top 5s and 17 top 10s. Really good program. Justin Allgaier, though, definitely on fire. Daniel Hemrick really making a move. Brendan Poole is probably the most exciting, the most interesting to me, because I don't know if you remember him a couple years ago with the mullet and the whole attitude and everything.
Drivers and
right. Then he kind of cleans himself up. But Cole Custer, in 8th, I think that he's going to do. He's going to do well, and of course the heir apparent to Stuart Haas Racing. We'll see if he's in the number 10 down the road. And I do have to comment that I did get a letter from Eric Amarola's mom wishing that I would stop making fun of him. So I just wanted to say, but the PS on it I thought was really cool that she did say that Arik is really his name, but he got made fun of so much in kindergarten they changed it to Eric. So okay. I just wanted you to know that, Dominic.
See, that's good. We're gonna have to roll in that video and share everyone what happened at Kansas City a couple of years ago. But no, on the other side of the break, we got your performance in the house, so we're excited to have them. Roger Green with the Oldsmobile Association of New Mexico. We have a great show lined up for you. You're watching the New Mexico Motorsports Report here on the Proview Networks.
Picked off. That's Lucas Martinez, and he's going for the touchdown. Nice.
He's got 78 yards running. That's a wide open catch, and that is going to go into the end zone for 6. Touchdown for Jacob. Now he finally has pressure. He's got a hold to hit a throw. Look at that. He's got a wide open man. It's a catch at the 15-yard line. Magala keeps on going. And is he into the end zone? It looks like he has. Touchdown.
Oh, forget it. We're playing football. Here's the snap. Under pressure. that was Queen to David Bowie. That's about as good as it gets.
Lynch on the free kick toward the box. And a goal!
Cleveland 14, Centennial nothing. Pitch out to Acosta, was never looking for that. Picked up and going for the end zone.
Oh my God.
That's going to be a touchdown. Oh my goodness.
It's like two guys are running.
86-yard touchdown recovery.
A toss down the middle and a one-handed grab. It's complete and it's a first down. And
a barrier here that we have to look around. But we're nice and low. That's the good news. Fun place, and there's a shot from the outside.
the Texans game's over. They're going to Bolden in the end zone. Touchdown, Bolden! Jump on, he won it! Turnbull, pressure, good looking pass, and that is going to be a catch, and that's going to go for 6. Deshaun Sanchez will get his second touchdown of
Ladera Golf Course. Opened in 1980, Ladera features a full 18 including spacious greens, a large driving range, roomy practice putting greens, and 4 large lakes. Surrounding Ladera, beautiful views of the Sandia Mountains to the east and volcanoes to the west. Ladera is a challenging city-owned course with the longest playing yardage of any other city courses. For weekend tee times and more information, call 505-836-4449.
Welcome back to the New Mexico Motorsports Report here on the Proview Networks. And NHRA last weekend, first round of the countdown. Doug Collada got it done in Top Fuel with a 3.775 pass at 318.39. Collada has 43 career victories. Robert Height won in Funny Car, Tanner Gray in Pro Stock, and Eddie Krawick in Pro Stock Motorcycle. A 3.943 at 328.86 in a Chevy Camaro S got it done for Height. He has 40 career victories and 5 at the Z-Max Dragway. Greg Anderson had a 6.614 at 208.07 in a Chevy Camaro, and Krawick beat teammate Andrew Hines with a 6.85 at 196.87 in Harley Davidson for his 4th victory this season and 40th overall. If you want to go check out some local drag racing, one of the neatest events that they have is actually going on this weekend. It's a Yearwood Performance presents the All Out Call Out 2. We got a little video we're going to run here for you. Get some heads-up drag racing. We're going to have some different classes that we're going to talk about, and joining us actually in the studio here in just a second is going to be Mike Tidoni, that's with the All Out Call Out, and of course there's a nice burnout there as well. And joining us also is Robert Costa, that is the owner and operator of the Albuquerque Dragway, and so that's going to be going on this weekend with the drive out. And so joining me now is Robert Costa with Albuquerque Dragway and Mike Tidoni with the Yearwood Performance presents the All Out Call Out 2. How you guys doing today?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Thanks. Yeah, well, I tell you, it's one of my favorite events, and of course we'll get you in really quick, Mike. Give us a little bit of the lowdown, because one of the things I think is really neat is this is a true call out. One, you call out your competitors, but two, you have to actually drive the car to the track. track.
Yeah,
so there's a meetup.
It's a streetcar race, yeah, and so we try and keep it as streetcar oriented as possible. So yeah, there's a mandatory drive out to the track. It's usually in the neighborhood of between 15 and 20 miles, depending on where we do the meetup for a given race. But there's 5 different classes. Very few rules, much like a street race would be. And you know, for a given class, if there's 50 cars in a class, we'll do 25 tickets. And if your ticket gets drawn, you get to call out who you want to race. So also, you know, a lot like a street race would be. But yeah, you get to call out who you want to race. Some guys go right for the fast guys right away, and some guys go right for the slow guys right away. It just depends. There's a lot more strategy to it than people tend to think. It's pretty neat.
So Robert, what do you think about, you have several different events that you and your staff put on, but this is also kind of a collaborative event where you bring in another group that actually puts on an event. What's the perspective from you as the track owner and operator with that?
Well, our expertise is running the racetrack and making sure that the safety aspect is there, that the track has good traction, you know, all of those types of things. These guys, they run a great streetcar event, okay, because they're street racers. You know, kind of imagine a football star trying to put on a race.
Right.
You know, it just doesn't work.
Right.
We know how to put on races for racers. We don't know how to put on the streetcar stuff. And some of the things that they do are very unique, you know, with the call out, with the drive, you know, that type of thing. And it works really well.
Has there been any things from their event that you've actually taken back and used maybe in some of your weekly programs?
A little bit. You know, there's a little bit of stuff that we can do. Bracket racers seem to be much more, they want the structure, you know, where these guys are, you know, it's almost like anarchy. You know, it's like, hey,
it's controlled anarchy, right?
Yeah.
Controlled anarchy.
Yeah,
sometimes we got to
right.
make decisions on the fly. Sometimes.
But it's, you know, hey, put everybody's name into a hat and draw a name.
Yeah.
You know, bracket racers, yeah, they would, you know, they wouldn't go so well with that. You know, they want to know who they're going to race and what round they're going to race them in.
So I got to ask you, Mike, having heard that, how do you deal with you know, the order of things? I mean, because basically, you know, you are kind of controlling a very organic, you know, thing that happens with street racing, and, you know, of course, not that we condone that in any way.
Absolutely not. That's why the race is here, right?
Yeah. And but talk about how do you put them together? How do you set up brackets or run groups so that, you know, you're able to bring some order to it?
Right, and we want it to be competitive for people. So we have 5 indexes. The slow class is a 1420 index. The next one up is the Street Fighter class. It's a 1280 index. Next one is the Big Boys class. It's an 1150 index. Heavy hitters is a 1020 index, and then there's the Let It Eat class, and there's no index. And, you know, and there's always going to be sandbaggers that, you know, that run down a class. Right. But what we've come to learn is pedaling a car is just as tough as making it go fast sometimes, because we do have a breakout. If you break out of the index, you're done. So if you're pedaling the car and you're trying to not get past, but you still get across the line, there's a good chance that you're going to get broken out.
So there's something a little new with this one, that you can't buy any tickets at the gate, so you have to buy them ahead. Talk a little bit about that process.
Yeah, so tickets can be purchased on holdmyticket.com.
Or Albuquerque Drive, or abqdragway.com as well.
abqdragway.com also has the link as well. Or either Yearwood Performance location, you can just show up and drop in on your way home from work or whatever, and grab your tickets there as well.
Yeah, so that's 341 Eubank, or on the west side at 9674 Eagle Ranch Road.
Yeah, so if you show up at the gate, you will not get in, because there's not going to be anyone selling tickets. We're simply only taking the online ticket sales or the pre-purchase at Yearwood.
Great, and so that's mainly for grandstands, because of course everybody else needs to register. How would they register their car for their event if they're watching this and they want to come out and run?
If you want to race, go to alloutcallout.com. All the instructions, the format, payment, everything's right there at alloutcallout.com.
And they do have to meet at the pit Saturday morning at at noon.
Yeah, so we have our
Okay.
mandatory check-in out at the pit, and then we drive out to the track from there.
As a matter of fact, I noticed that you had something on Facebook that there's an event actually going on, and they need to make kind of an alternate. Hey, what way would you recommend they come in then?
They have to come in on, I believe it's the East Gate. Robert, do you recall what it was now?
Yeah, so they have to take Gibson to University and then go north on University to the pit, and then they come in and it's the it's the southeast gate.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
on that
basically,
corner there.
Avenida Cesar Chavez is closed for
It's
that
closed
bicycle,
for bicycle race, correct.
Okay, so remember that at least for the get together, and then you guys are going to cruise out.
There's a map also on our Facebook page. You can see a map on how to get in there too.
So I know, Yearwood, of course, is the presenting sponsor, and I mean that's very significant to helping an event like this happen. But name some of the other sponsors that you have that really kind of make this thing happen.
Oh gosh, Firestone really stepped it up in their sponsorship. They've been contributing additional prizes. Yearwood Performance, of course. UTI. There's so many great local shops. Solitech, Southwest Speed, Car Crafters. Jim Guthrie's shop has come on as a sponsor this year. Our race wouldn't happen if it wasn't for our sponsors. We have, what draws our racers is the amazing prize money that we offer. So we wouldn't be able to make it happen without our sponsors. So.
Do you have any feel for how many cars are coming out?
So. For the June race, we had over 220 cars come out to race.
Wow.
This September fall race, we're anticipating to be a little bit smaller, but there's no telling. Like so many people show up on the day of the race for registration.
There could be 250.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, you just don't know
my
until
guess
the
is
day of the
150
race.
right now.
That's 20. Let's say that you've got 5 divisions. I mean that's 20 cars a division. I mean that's a pretty good run. 200. I mean, now you're talking up to 40 cars, and I'm sure some of the classes are bigger.
Yeah, they're not evenly split. The Street Fighter and the Slowpoke class are the biggest classes, and the Street Fighter class can easily go over 50 cars.
Have you had people that have come out? I mean, because I know you've done it, several other times. Have you had people that come out and have won the same division a couple of times, or do you find them actually moving up and going faster, putting more parts on their car?
We've seen guys move around classes over the years, and we have guys that have won 2-3 years in a row. Ricky Daniels, he kind of dominated the Let It Eat class for a while there.
Right.
Dan Myers.
Angelo Sanchez. Ron Rios, I think, has won a couple.
Ron Rios has won at least 3 that I can think of. These guys have a lot of seat time. So,
well, and I know at the June race there was an accident, and it would really help to have your fire and safety there, because there's a perfect example of why this should not be happening on the street.
Exactly.
If something like that happened on the street, you wouldn't have that world class group to get together, and I think that's a tribute to your group.
Right, and the one thing that a lot of these street racers don't know, or they I'm not going to say that they don't care, but they don't recognize, is the track is open just about every single week. And they can come out, for $20. They can make as many passes as they can in a day or in a night. And not only does that give them more seat time and more experience, but it puts them in a safe environment. There's nobody walking around. There's nobody in a minivan who's going to pull out in front of you. That type of thing.
Right.
So we really encourage them to come out to the racetrack and get off the streets. And racing is made for racetracks.
And those are the guys that get consistent. Those are the guys that get consistently fast, that are out there practicing. And for $20 to go out and run all night long, that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's the Yearwood street to strip events. But of course, the rest of your events. So if somebody was watching, how would they get more information about the Dragway?
abqdragway.com. Lots of information. Tells you the schedule, the times, the classes that we run. Spectator information gives lots of great information.
And how about you, Mike? How would you find out about the All Out Call Out too?
alloutcallout.com or our All Out Callout Facebook page. We have an Instagram page, tends to be a little bit more fun stuff than information, but Facebook page has tons of information as well as the website, alloutcallout.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
I invite you to go out and check that out, as well as you can go by either Yearwood Performance, 341 Eubank, or you can check them out 9674 Eagle Ranch Road. Pick up your tickets. They're not going to be selling any at the gate, so don't make the mistake of going all the way out there to have to turn around and go back. We got a whole lot more coming up on the New Mexico Motorsports Report here on the Proview Networks.
Garden Sorts Team Sales is a proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Get into the game. Garden Schwartz Team Sales features fine products and apparel from Wilson, Schutt Sports, Speedline, and Russell Athletics. We offer custom embroidery and screen printing services for all of your school or club needs, from team uniforms to school letter jackets. Specializing in all sports and serving all communities, from big schools to small schools, from up north to down south, or all points in between. Garden Schwartz Team Sales. For great prices, friendly staff, and quality products, call Garden Schwartz Team Sales today at 1-800-880-7767. That's 1-800-880-7767. Since 1939, Garden Schwartz Team Sales is a proud supporter of New Mexico youth athletics.
Gecko's Bar and Tapas, a proud supporter of Proview Networks. It's been a fan favorite spot for food lovers and sports fans. With not one, but two great locations, including outdoor patio, an atmosphere you won't want to miss. Gecko's, off Academy and in Nob Hill. Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network. VR Junkies is a virtual reality arcade. We specialize in all things VR, from the simple phone-based headsets to cutting-edge full-body motion systems. Check us out at the Coronado Mall. VR Junkies.
And welcome back to the New Mexico Motorsports Report here on the Proview Networks. I'm your host, Dominic Aragon, joined alongside David Swope, and we have a very special guest here in the studio today with us, Roger Green from the Oldsmobile Club of America. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Sounds fun.
So talk a little about the club and the New Mexico chapter and a little bit about what you guys do.
Well, there's the Oldsmobile Club of America, not necessarily for Oldsmobile owners, anybody who loves the Oldsmobiles. In fact, myself, I was born and raised in Lansing, Michigan, home of the Oldsmobiles.
Oh, wow.
And the Oldsmobile Club of America started in 1970. We currently have over 5,400 members. There's 43 chapters, and there's members from international members and specialty chapters also. And this year we had our national meet in Albuquerque.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that, of anywhere that could have been held. That was held here in Albuquerque. How did that all come together?
They have an annual national meet different parts around the country and even in Canada in the past. And there hadn't been one in the Southwest for many years, so they have a headhunter group go around, and the president of the club said we need one in Southwest part of the country, and they came up with Albuquerque, and they work it out with a hotel chain that has the proper facilities, and people from all over the country and Canada showed up.
Well, it seems appropriate on Route 66, and looks like you guys got to enjoy some time out at the drag strip as well. Talk a little bit about kind of getting the cars out there and running them. You know, different. Look like you got different years there, able to kind of get them out on the track and drive them as they were meant to be driven.
Exactly. Joe Donnelly started this racing program probably 5 or 6 years ago. He's an old racer with a 1966 W30 tribute car.
Nice.
And so he organizes with the local drag strips of wherever the annual meet is, and Albuquerque Dragway was really glad to help us out there, and we had 14 cars show up, and some of them were race cars, and most of them were street cars.
Right.
And I'm a true believer in these cars were built to be driven.
Right.
An example, my '69 Hearst Oldsmobile was a ex-street racer from Kentucky.
Wow.
And I remember those cars brand new in the showroom floor in Lansing.
Right.
And, but yeah, they were made to be raced and driven. Of course, now they've become collector cars.
Right.
And I get a lot of grief because I actually pull a trailer with mine and drive it regularly to different shows around the Southwest. And
Sure gets a lot of eyeballs when you're going up and down the interstate, right?
oh, a lot of thumbs up and waves, and it really gets a lot of attention.
Excellent. And when you guys had the race there a few weeks ago at the Dragway, had to break it up into different classes, correct?
We had 3 classes based on your speed. We did, a bunch of time trials, and we broke it up into 3 classes based on your speed or your times, and then you picked your dial in, and then we did bracket racing based on that.
So talk a little bit about Oldsmobile. I mean, because that's it's definitely a different marquee. I mean, it's I know like GTO's got its group, and the Mustang, the pony cars and stuff. But Oldsmobile, a lot of times I think about Oldsmobiles and being luxury cars. With the the 88 or anything like that. I mean, talk a little bit about that balance between the Oldsmobile performance and luxury division.
Well, Oldsmobile was incorporated in 1897, the very oldest car manufacturer in North America, and they had the first overhead valve V8 engine in a production car in 1949.
Wow.
They called it the Rocket V8.
Right.
And Oldsmobile also had the first automatic transmission, the Hydromatic. And they were more of a luxury car, even though they were under GM, but each car division had their own engineering.
Ah.
And so Oldsmobile was kind of geared for more luxury, better ride. But then they were always a performance car in the 50s, of course, with their V8s,
Right.
Rocket V8s. And Joe Mandello got involved with the Oldsmobile group for drag racing in the early 60s, mid-60s. And they came out to compete with the GTO in 1964 with the first Oldsmobile 442,
right,
based on the Cutlass line.
Yeah.
And it was a high-performance 330 V8, 4-barrel, 4-speed transmission, and dual exhaust. That's where the 442 came from.
Well, yeah, and the Hearst, had a lot of notoriety and a lot of success in NHRA, and a lot of Oldsmobiles locally as well. I mean, I remember Paul Greenberg, with his 442. And as a matter of fact, Paul also writes for the magazine and catches it up on some good local stories. What's your favorite one of all time? I mean, maybe other than your own, but is there always one that you wanted that got away?
Oh, there's many of those stories. Any car guy has those stories, but I came across the 1971 W30 local car for sale, and so I jumped on that and bought that to restore it. Well, then I was in Denver at the Nationals, I believe in 1998, and my friend from Indiana who collected Hearst Oldsmobile says, I picked up another 69 Hearst Olds and your name's on it.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's the ultimate Oldsmobile in my mind, with the paint scheme, and of course Doc Watson designed it. And so I had to sell my 65 442 to get the Hearst. Now I'm in a dilemma. Which one do I restore, the W30 or the Hearst?
Right.
The W30 was more rare, but the 69 Hearst Olds is much more valuable and much more eye-catching.
Right.
Eye candy. So I sold the W30, regretfully, but the Hearst Olds is done and on the road. And
well, that's fantastic. And is it a daily driver? I mean, do you?
It could be, but I just tried to take it out a couple times.
It's too rare. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's really, they only made 912 of them.
Wow.
And there's probably only maybe 300 or so left in existence. But we drive it to Colorado, to Arizona, to Texas. And
how many different ones have you owned? Different models?
Oh,
lose
65
count, or we don't want your wife watching this? Is that one of those?
No, she supports me 100%.
Oh, good, okay.
As long as it's car money. I sell car parts and part out cars for the last 30 years to finance my...
Your habit.
I've got 5 classic Oldsmobiles right now.
Oh, fantastic.
65 is my favorite year, of course. And
wow.
that was my very first car in 1968, a 65 Cutlass.
Nice. Wow.
So.
Yeah, that's nice. You know, it's neat how people are about it. You know, it's like, because what I wanted to ask you that question is, a lot of times it's not always the most famous that, you know, that is the favorite. We all have favorites. I mean, my first was a 67 911 or a 67 Nova Super Sport. And you know, and so the Chevy 2 and Chevy 2, you know, competed a lot with NHRA with all the Thunderbolts and everything. But you know, I mean, you know, when you look at the car with the hubcaps on, and you know, and when it was the daily driver, you know, it wasn't necessarily something that would pop out. But I mean, you know, with the 350 horse 327 in it and the aluminum power glide, I mean, the thing was fast. I mean, it weighed as much as the Corvette. So a lot of times it's like, that's how you know, it's a true car aficionado. It's like, you know, it's not just the big names that everybody knows about, but the W30. I mean, that's a perfect example of, well, how can you not? And then you're like, nah, you know. So thank you for sharing that story. But was there ever one that you had that just like gave you nothing but problems, or?
Well, I've got one of those right now. It's a 67 Cutlass Supreme. It's been in Albuquerque its whole life, and of course all the Oldsmobile guys have known about this guy by 12th and Manal. He had 2 67s parked in his front yard, and never for sale, and he passed away, and I wrote a letter to his address hoping someone would get it, and he had 3 or 4 daughters who weren't interested in cars, and they had a family friend contact me, so we made a deal, and I bought that car to restore, but taking it apart, just one hidden thing after another. I mean,
it sat for years? Is that what you were saying? Did it sit for years?
Yeah, well, it sat outside its whole life.
That's a killer. Yeah.
They had, you know, replaced a new windshield, but they didn't repair the rust under the channel, so the floorboards rusted out, the heater controls all rusted up, and it's just become a big money pit. But I got it apart. I'm going to do it right. It's going to be a brand new car. But you run into those.
Yeah. When's your next event? When's the next event you guys are going to go to?
Next year in July is going to be Gettysburg, Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow. You going to drive up there?
I doubt it.
It's only 2,000 miles, right?
Right. That's a long ways in a non-air conditioned car in July.
Yeah, absolutely.
So does the local chapter meet up often, or do you guys have a lot of events that people can come check out?
We used to have an annual event locally. We called it the BOP Show, Buick Olds Pontiac, that we always sponsored. And we were always getting 50 to 55 cars every year at Quality GMC always sponsored that for us. And
Sure.
hopefully we'll be able to do that this spring again.
Excellent. And is there anywhere that people can check out online if they want to learn more about the club?
Go to the Oldsmobile Club of America. It's OCA.com, I believe, or .org, but OCA, Oldsmobile Club of America. They've got all the local chapters there and the national events and all the information you need with applications to join the club.
Excellent.
Great.
Roger, thank you so much for coming and joining us in the studio.
Of course.
And if you guys want to read more about Roger Green and the Oldsmobile Club of America, check out this month's edition of the New Mexico Motorsports Report, available at all Napa locations throughout the metro and across the state, at all CarCrafter locations, and Yearwood Performance. This is the New Mexico Motorsports Report here on the Proview Networks.
Duke City Sports Bar, proud supporter of Proview Sports and New Mexico Youth Athletics. Catch all the sports action from high school, college, pros, and MMA on one of our 35 HD TVs. Start your night off right with any selection from our delicious menu prepared with fresh, never frozen ingredients. Duke City Sports Bar, Albuquerque's newest sports bar. Located on Eubank and Montgomery, dial 505-433-4020.
Carmody Medical provides solutions for your everyday needs. Hot and cold compression wraps provide therapeutic compression for the shoulder, hip, and knee. The therapy wraps are constructed of an insulated outer fabric and a ventilated cotton pocket to protect the body. Elastic belts allow mobility and deliver a gentle, adjustable compression. The reusable therapy packs can be removed from the pouch and placed into the freezer. Contact Jim for more information.
Hoops NM Basketball Center is coming soon. 10 full courts broken into 2 wings for ultimate basketball and volleyball play. Locker rooms, a lounge area, a pro shop, and a full snack bar will all be a part of a great experience. Convenient parking and access will make the Hoops NM Basketball Center a premier facility for league play and competitive regional tournaments. With over 9,000 square feet, Hoops NM Basketball Center will take court sports play to another level in our community. Courts are regulation high school size with wood floors and seating for approximately 350 per court. Major sponsors and supporters are being assembled now. If you're interested, contact Dan Serrano at 505-249-7994. Send him an email, hoopsnm@aol.com. That's hoopsnm@aol.com. Hoops NM Basketball Center, a premier sports facility serving our community.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at Proview Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
The Barley Room, a proud sponsor of Proview Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
CarCrafters, proud supporter of Proview Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to CarCrafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
CarCrafters, it's like it never happened.
Welcome back to the New Mexico Motorsports Report. I'm Dominic Otagon, David Swope, and Brooklyn Green. Brooklyn, what's going on locally this weekend?
So this Saturday, the 23rd at Sandy Motor Speedway, we've got the Dynamite Dash. Racing begins at 6:30 and general admission is $17. And if you go there, you'll see the 305 wing sprint cars. At ABQ Dragway, we've got the all-out call-out. There's 2 streetcar racing tickets available online and at Yearwood only. So be sure to get your tickets before the day. No tickets will be sold at the door.
Yep, just as they talked about earlier, yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a great event out there. So, okay, we shift our focus to national. NASCAR Camping World Truck Series has their points set. They finished up their last race of the regular season at Chicagoland Speedway. Christopher Bell has a commanding point lead as they start the playoffs.
Well, absolutely. With his 4 victories, was able to get that done. Johnny Sauter, of course, won the final race of the season, made sure he was in. So you had 5 that made it, 6 that made it on victories, 2 that made it on points. So it's going to be an interesting battle as now they're going to progress into the playoffs. But Matt Crafton, that crafty veteran, is still in the run. So I think that you're going to see after the first round, we were going to really settle it out. I don't know if Kaz Grell is going to make it out of the first round. The great win in Daytona, I'm not taking that away from him. But I really think it's going to be down to Christopher Bell, Johnny Sauter, Matt Crafton, and I think Austin Cindric is actually going to make it into the Final Four.
The truck that impressed me Friday night, and I think he had the power to get to that Final Four, had he made the playoffs, Ryan Truex. Started on pole, he led some laps. That team has really upped their game. That's a team that went part-time a few years ago. So
yeah,
Truex
absolutely.
comes out firing, lost on a tiebreaker. So I think there's a driver that could have easily gone farther than Ben Rhodes. Not knocking Ben Rhodes, but I'm shocked Truex is not a part of this playoff.
Absolutely.
So you guys just picked to win the championship in the Truck Series.
I'm going to go Christopher Bell.
Hard not to pick Christopher Bell here. He's looking too strong with the Kyle Busch Motorsports equipment.
Yeah, it is, and of course, I mean, for me, of course, his dirt racing background, I think really helps him, and especially in the Truck Series. As you move to Xfinity, I think that there's a bigger change moving from trucks to Xfinity than there really is from Xfinity to Cup. Now, actually, having heard Eric Jones this year, there's much more of maybe a change than I realized between Xfinity and Cup. But let's talk a little bit about Xfinity points. They got it finished this weekend. Of course, Justin Allgaier getting it done, but William Byron leading the points with his 3 victories. Justin Allgaier sitting there just 2 back with 2 victories. Elliott Sadler, Daniel Hemrick, Brendan Poole, Ryan Reed, Jeremy Clemens. That's
a feel-good story.
That is such a feel-good story. I hope that he can advance further along, but I think Cole Custer, with his background and his backing, has a better chance to advance. So I think it's really going to come down. You're going to see William Byron, of course, Justin Allgaier, Elliott Sadler, and then from there, you got to make your pick. I mean, who do you think is going to be that 4th one?
See, and we saw that last year at Phoenix. Blake Cook came down to just a few points on missing the championship 4 to Justin Allgaier. Brendan Gaughan made that round of 8. So there are a couple drivers back there maybe they're not seated well thus far, but Jeremy Clemens could go up there and shake things up, because that's a team that finishes inside the top 15 for not having the millions of dollars in the alliance that William Byron or Justin Allgaier would have with the Cup team. But the driver who's impressed me most over this Xfinity Series season would be Elliott Sadler. 11 top 5 finishes. He may not have won, and he has not won since last year at Talladega in May of 2016. But here's a driver you know is going to go out and finish inside the top 10, barring a mechanical issue or some sort of crash. But Elliott Sadler, we talked about it with Helio Castroneves being the Mark Martin of IndyCar. Elliott Sadler is the Mark Martin of the NASCAR Xfinity Series. 3 times he's finished.
Everyone's got one.
Exactly. Every series has got that Mark Martin, and that belongs to Elliott Sadler with the Xfinity Series. He's finished 3 times runner-up, including last year. Does he get it done this year?
Yeah, I don't know. He doesn't have a victory yet this season, and that's that one thing that kind of haunts you is, I mean, are they going to throw the switch at this point? Thank God he's not driving for Lowe's, because they're out of switches. But definitely, I do think that William Byron, he already knows he's got a Cup ride next year. I think he's got a lot of backing there. But Justin Allgaier, I mean, he has just been, scratching at the door. Of course, we were at Phoenix last year and got in the middle of the little scuffle between him and Suarez, which was really interesting. And Suarez went in to win the championship, and of course, he thought he was going to spend another year in Xfinity. But I'm excited. Let's talk Cup, because now we got 1 race in. We got 9 races left. Let's take a look at those points.
Yeah, the Cup Series, Martin Truex Jr., no shock. He's going on to the next round. He has the commanding point lead. So Kyle Larson is your your next driver that is not safe, but he's got such a nice advantage over 13th place Kurt Busch. I think it's hard to imagine we're not going to see Kyle Larson and the likes of Kevin Harvick and Brad Keselowski advance. But you look at those bottom four, Kurt Busch would lose on the tiebreaker if the next round started today to Austin Dillon. Ricky Stenhouse had some speeding penalties out of Chicagoland. Casey Kane had some issues on pit road. Ryan Newman couldn't get it done. So those four would be out of the playoffs and out of the next round if the playoffs started today.
Yeah, and the most surprising thing, of course, I think is what happened with Chase Elliott. I mean, what a tremendous run he had, and it looked like, oh, hey, Hendricks is going to throw the switch. You know, I mean, here they go. But you know, with the issue with the tape on the splitter, you know, that's kind of affected him, pulled him back to the pack. Kyle Busch, at some point, you know, you wonder if he's just going to catch fire because he goes from basically second or third. Now he's sitting back in fifth. You're shaking your head no. Why is Kyle Busch not going to make it?
I don't think he was very consistent throughout this year. I don't think he is one that should be in make it to the next round. I don't think he has a chance this year.
I don't know. Here's a guy who's won 7 poles this year. He's leading the series with laps led, or second in laps led. But yeah, he can't get it done with a lot of the victories. Here's a guy who should have had 10 wins at this point. But when you start first every week, it's hard to imagine you're not going to go out and lead laps and get those stage points, which is really important now in the playoffs. He did win the first stage of the race on Sunday, but we'll see if it takes him. We'll see if he goes for a third year in a row to the Final Four.
I'm just hoping. This year's full of surprises, so I'm
sure is.
hoping.
Ryan Newman making the chase. That was
right. Yeah, I mean, Ryan Newman. I mean, he's he's looking good. No, I mean, I'm trying to be a smart aleck at this point, but absolutely doing a great job. What do you think about the Twitter wars? I mean, you know, Brad Keselowski, right? I mean, Ford was dominant at the beginning of the season, right? Nobody was saying anything. Now Toyota, you know, is looking dominant. And really, I tell you, who's looking dominant is Martin Truex. I mean, with confidence, with the team behind him, with the consistency of what they're doing, I mean, it's really his to lose. It's kind of like him against the field would really be the best. I mean, even Kyle Larson didn't have a great run, you know, to start it off in Chicagoland. Kevin Harvick, you know, I mean, Kevin, I have him picked as one making the Final Four. He made some good moves. I mean, you know, Brad Keselowski, I didn't actually have him in the Final Four. I actually had Kyle Busch in there, but he still keeps hanging around. I mean, you know, 17 top 10s, you know, 9 top 5s.
He's like that bad itch, you can't get rid of him.
Well, yeah, and that's what they say, Brad, you know, bad Brad, you know, and of course the whole Twitter war thing, and so I've got to ask you guys as younger people. I mean, is this the new cat fight? I mean, what's with the whole Twitter war thing?
I think everyone has a Twitter war once in their life. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, social media is the go-to now. It's like, why tell somebody to their face when you can just tweet it on Twitter, you know? I think it's kind of ridiculous in my opinion, but
there you go for the whole world to see.
Yeah.
And I love Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s comments. I don't know if you guys caught those in the media center. Someone asked his thoughts about this whole situation, and Dale goes, "Well, Kyle Larson's the class of the field. He's kicking all our butts, so we have no right to say anything."
Wow. So what do you think about the breaking news with Casey Kane? I mean, Casey Kane is going to be taking McDowell's seat over Levin Family Racing. And what are your thoughts on Casey Kane getting a ride?
Yeah, here's a car that has steadily improved each season. Michael McDowell has done a phenomenal job for what that team can offer, and really sucks to see him out of that seat, but who's to say he may not get a second car. They ran the 59 in select races last year, but now we know who's going to be finishing 25th every week with Casey Kane.
Okay, well, think about this, though. What an opportunity. I mean, Rick Hendrick was going to have to pay him anyway. So I think this is a genius move on their part. They're getting a marquee name at maybe 50 cents on the dollar. I mean, it was not disclosed what they are picking up in the contract, but think about that. I mean, that's a tremendous opportunity to get a driver of that caliber, get a couple of sponsors, get a few more dollars. The team continues to grow. I agree. McDowell did a fantastic job and should be rewarded for that. But they have made it perfectly clear that this is all about money. Talking about sponsorship money. I was looking at some statistics. They were talking about $660,000 is what Farmers Insurance was paying per race to be on Casey Kane's car. Minimum. That is some insane numbers.
Yeah.
And so you think about, that they're going to get the driver at that, at that level. And in Casey Kane, he does still have a good following. I mean, that they're going to get some value on that. But that's probably one of the best moves that I've actually seen. Yes, McDowell probably will be the guy that's going to wind up without a seat over this whole thing. But if he can get some sponsorship money, I think that's a good move. I think Casey Kane, you could say to yourself, well, what else could Casey Kane have done? This is probably one of the best deals he could get. I do believe that down the road that he and Hendrick are going to put something together, and maybe in another form of racing. Maybe he could do a little bit more sprint car racing. He is a pretty good sprint car driver.
Sure. And with the 77 team closing, this was the best option for Kane looking at 2018.
Right. One other event that is going on this weekend that I wanted to mention real quickly, out at the road course at Sandia Speedway, Saturday and Sunday, you can go out and see some great road racing. They've got vintage cars, contemporary cars. I'm not gonna be there. The Spec Miatas run. Typically, I'm going to be out there, but you need to go out and check it out. It's a really neat event, and there's cars. So if you got a kid that wants to get racing, road racing in karts, you can come out. But Sandia Speedway, Saturday and Sunday, Southwest Motorsports. You can check them out at swms.org.
That's going to do it for another edition of the New Mexico Motorsports Report here on the Proview Networks. I'm Dominic Aragon for Brooklyn Green and David Swope. We'll see you next time.